Hello and welcome to the latest podcast. I'm your host, JP John Paz, right here on the two-man power trip of wrestling. Of course, joining me is the former WCW head writer, former WWF head writer, former WCW World Heavyweight Champion, Mr. Vince Russo. Vince, welcome back. How you doing?
What is going on, John? How you doing, my friend?
Doing good. I'm kind of upset you lost the beard, but it is what it is. It's all right. But
Yeah,
it
I
happens.
never ever had the beard that bushy before, and that's what it was, bro. It was just bushy, man. I didn't like the way it looked.
So today is a very interesting topic. It's going to be the last WCW pay-per-view before you come back. So they're obviously, I guess, talking to you at this point about coming back, right? I mean, because it's not really going too good, to be honest. The last few pay-per-views have not been great. I guess Sullivan's back at the helm, booking Benoit, Eddie leave, obviously Malenko Saturn leave. It's in flux. They're trying to bring Bischoff back. What's the deal with you? Like, are they talking to you this entire time? Like, asking you to come back?
Well, yeah, John, I don't know the timing and the dates, but I do know that Eric and I had a little time to plan. So I would guess I remember Brad Siegel wanted me to meet somebody at a restaurant. He didn't tell me who the somebody was. I knew it was Eric. I absolutely knew it was Eric. So I had to meet with Eric. Then I had to, come to agreement with Brad. Then I know I got together with Eric creatively. So I'd say there was probably at least a 2-week window, I would say.
So when they're telling you to come back, are they telling you like, "Hey, it's not going so well. We need you back," or how does that conversation go?
No, I mean that goes without saying. You know what I mean? They're not telling us anything about where they are creatively or nothing like that. They're just like, we need you to come back.
Have you been following what's been going on at
No,
all while you're away, or you don't watch at all?
not at all. Not like I said, John. I'm waiting every 2 weeks at the mailbox for my check. As long as my check is there, everything is hunky dory. I did not watch one show. I did not watch one pay per view.
So you're going to be in for maybe a bit of a surprise with some of the matches here.
Yeah,
So
you were
what
just telling me something before the show started, and it was the first time I've ever heard it.
the Yapapai Indian strap match, whatever that means. I know there
Yeah,
was
well,
Yapapai Indians, but I don't know what this have to do with the
yeah, I
strap
would,
match.
but why Yapapai? Why them?
I have no idea.
Yeah, interesting. Okay,
I feel like sometimes Hulk gets stuff,
in his
you know,
head.
um, stuck in his head. Like instead of a metal briefcase, it's like the attaché case. He would call it. Like he gets weird words, stuck in his
Bro,
head, and
a lot
can't
of
get
heat
get it
on
out.
your boy. A lot of heat on your boy lately, man. Leaving the
Yes,
meet
yes.
leaving the meet and greet, pissing people off, man.
I was just talking to somebody yesterday about it. I said, to be honest, I can't blame Hulk for the meet and greet because if you looked at the schedule that the Real American, like the schedule they had, it's in New York, but they no place in New York is close. I don't care where it is because of just where the traffic and New York is nuts. I know obviously this was more of the western and northwestern part of New York, but it's crazy. They had the schedule, the itinerary out. I was like, how is he going to get here, here, and here, and sign all those autographs, take all those pictures? It's not possible.
Yeah.
Like he's going to have to leave early, or they have to cut it short, and they cut it short, and then he got a ton of heat for it. I was like, man, like just horrible planning by whoever planned that
Yeah,
out.
no, absolutely, man. If you're looking at a schedule and it just doesn't work out, somebody's got to be held responsible. I'm sure Hulk ain't making the schedule.
No, definitely
Yeah.
not. But yeah, so he got
Yeah.
like a lot of heat. But it's crazy. You go to the his signings. He usually stays late at the beach, the beach shop. He's there for like 6 hours signing for people. So it's definitely not him, to be honest. And he's great
Yeah.
with the fans. So it's definitely not him. It's definitely his people. And I don't know why you'd schedule 3 signings back to back to back with no time in between to get to the next signing. So stupid.
Well, he should have made those some kind of a statement talking about saying that. You know what I mean, bro? He
Yeah.
should have he
Yep.
should have said some because he is getting a lot of heat. He should have said, "Listen, I want to apologize. The booking, blah 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 blah." He should have said
Yeah.
something.
Yep. Definitely. Definitely. Well, we'll get to Hogan. Obviously, he's going to be in the main event versus Flair. Still main eventing versus Flair here in 2000. So it's WCW Uncensored 2000, March 19th, Miami, Florida. The venue is the American Airlines Arena. The attendance just about 5,000, so a bit down for WCW. The tagline, against the rules. The pay-per-view buy rate, awful, 60K. So not good there.
Yeah.
They went from a year ago Hogan and Flair main eventing, and they did 400,000 buy rate. A year later, or I think it was 335,000 something, but it was a huge amount. And then year later, 60,000. So
Yeah,
obviously can't go
60K.
back to that well too many times.
I'll get blamed for that. And out of those 12 months, I was there for 3.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. It definitely was one of those things where they went backwards instead of forward with the booking.
Yeah.
Like they go back to Hogan and Flair. They're going Yappapi strap match, which seems like it's like a 1970s style, just name and match. And they keep going backwards. You keep going to the well of Hogan and Flair. How many times can
Yeah.
you have Hogan and Flair pay-per-view main event?
See, bro, that's I'm telling you, and nothing against those guys. And I swear to God, bro, Flair tweeted out about me like a week ago. Bro, I swear to God, I don't even know what he was talking about. I don't know what somebody told him I said about him. I don't have a clue to what he was talking about. So he's probably going to say something about this. But bro, I'll be honest with you, that's Hulk and Flair having too much control, man. That's Hulk and Flair, getting in, whether it's Kevin's ear or JJ's ear or whatever. Those guys at this point in their careers should not be headlining pay-per-views. I'm sorry. That's what I was trying to get away from when I came in. I was trying to reposition them in prominent roles in the company that made more sense, because they should not have been headlining anymore because they were getting exposed. And I literally was trying to protect those guys, but they weren't going to believe me. But that's just a matter of them just having too much freaking control, man.
To me, I think they still could be headlined, but it's got to be against somebody else, not against each other. We've seen that match too many times, like that kind
Yeah.
of thing. So, and obviously Hogan proved with Hogan Rock, and then Triple H and Flair. They've main evented shows in WWF years later. So it's like the opponent matters too. It depends.
Yeah.
Like if they were wrestling certain guys, you could main event.
Yeah. Yeah, guys that can carry them. They can't carry each other at that point. Guys that Triple H can carry you, Rock can carry you. Absolutely, yes.
So with this show, obviously this is going to be the first or the last pay per view before you come back. And you said you and Eric are planning. What's you and Eric's relationship at this point?
It's bro, it was never good. Bro, listen, man, it's first of all, Eric wanted to be back in charge and Eric wanted to have his old job. Okay. I wanted to be able to do what I was hired to do. And I was hired to be, as the head of creative, not to work with somebody. But like I said, bro, when Brad Siegel put it to me, I want you to work with somebody, I could not say no. You see, Bill Bush said to me, Vince, I want you to be part of a committee. My contract clearly said I was head of creative. So I was able to tell Bill Bush, I have no interest in being part of a committee. My contract says I'm head of creative. So I'm going to go home now and you can continue to pay me. That's not how Brad put it. Brad put it to me, I want you to work with somebody. I can't say no to that. Now, Eric tells a completely different story, that basically Brad Siegel told him he was over me. Bro, Brad Siegel would have never done that in a million years, because he would have known I would have said no. My contract says I'm head of creative. I'm not answering to anybody. So I believe that that's what Brad Siegel had to tell Eric and make Eric think he was in control of me. Never said anything to me about it because he knows I would have said no. And it's funny, bro, when he's asked in that Dark Side of the Ring, what does he say? I don't recall. So he told Eric and I two completely different things to make Eric agree and to make me agree.
So Brad obviously was not being forthright with either one of you guys.
Absolutely not. And like I said, man, he didn't deny it in that show.
The weird thing about that is if you guys are working together and he tells you two different things, when you actually start working together, it's going to create an issue. Like eventually, it's like it's going to come to a head,
It did,
right? I mean,
it did create an issue, bro, because what would happen was Eric and I would be working together. Then after the show, the next day, Eric would become Tuesday morning quarterback. Oh, you did this wrong. You did that wrong. You did this wrong. And I'm like, wait a minute, bro. You did the creative with me. So what are you talking about? I did this wrong. Everything we did, we agreed to together. And that's when it started being an issue, just like you said, John, and that's when it blew up.
so you kind of had like a 6 month plan, if you will. Remember, like we were talking about weeks before about how you were going to, write a few guys off. They're going to come back as the Avengers. Like you have certain plans, certain guys you're pushing. Is there anything like a part of the plan that is going to continue on, like when you return, or
Nah,
this is clean slate? You have to change everything up.
This is a clean slate, John. And like I said, and I'll say it again, I knew we were not going to get the people back. So now I'm basically there just, fulfilling my contract. I mean, I'm just there. I'm going to do the best job that I can do under the circumstances, but I know we've lost the audience. There's no long-term plan in place. And thank God, I mean, to me, bro, it was a blessing that WW came in and bought it because it got me out of the contract and they had to continue to pay me.
So as far as this show, I mentioned obviously the apple pie strap match, Hogan versus Flair. That's actually the main event. The like co-main event, which was kind of basically perceived almost as the main event, like the way they're promoting the show, was Jeff Jarrett versus Sid for the WCW title. Would you have had that be the main event, like when you're thinking about putting the world title as the main
Absolutely.
event?
Absolutely. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Absolutely.
So Hogan Flair obviously are going to be the main event.
That's
You
like
would
a
have
yeah,
had
that's like
Sid.
that would be like a featured attraction. That
Yes.
Hogan
Yep.
Flair match would have been a featured attraction. The title, bro's got to be the most important thing on the show. I mean, it's got to be. So that would have been. I would have promoted that like a featured attraction.
So let's start this show off. We have the WCW intro package for the pay-per-view. They show Flair and Luger together. They show Hogan and Sid talking. They show Jarrett and the Harris boys in the back. And then we have a limo pull-up. It seems like that's kind of like the theme for a lot of the shows during that period. It's like a mystery guy. Remember we were talking, it was a mystery guy. Was it Sting, the mystery guy? And it ended up
And
being
it's
Piper.
so
They teased James
I
Brown. A lot
swear
of the
to
teasing.
and I swear to God, John, did you watch Raw?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
Okay, John, everybody said, oh, Vince, you're a bit of this. Bro, people need to understand, I don't give a shit what they do. Whatever they do has no impact on me. I have to watch these shows because I get paid to watch these shows. But this is what I'm talking about, John. When you bring up limo, you got, before that cage match, you got a very, very lackluster show. So I guarantee you a lot of people turned off that show and never made it to the end. I guarantee you. John, all you had to do was have a limo show up at the beginning of the show. And all you had to do was go back to that limo a couple of times because people would have hoped that either Cena or Rock were in the limo. They wouldn't have been disappointed that it was Roman Reigns. So that's where, like, I'm like, what the F are you guys doing? Why wouldn't you at least have a limo to show up at the beginning of the show to let us know somebody important is there? That's where I rip them to shreds. Not that I give a shit to what they do, but it's, my God, guys, you can't assume everybody is still watching this show because the show sucks. At least have somebody showing up so we're waiting around to see who it is. That's why I get upset at the show.
So you love this limo gimmick here that they're teasing that somebody special
Yeah,
is here at this
absolutely, man. It
pay-per-view.
was always, the limo gimmick was always over. As long as you paid it off, it was
Right.
always over, bro. Always.
So the first match up, well, I'll mention the announcers first. Tony Schiavone, Mike Tenay, and Mark Madden, of course, are the announce team for tonight. The artist, formerly known as Prince Ikea, who is the cruiserweight champion, will defend against Psychosis, who's with Juventud in this one. So the artist beats Psychosis to retain the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. Paisley interferes. Juventud interferes, basically involving the finish, and we get a victory for the artist, formerly known as Prince Ikea, 7 minutes, 20 seconds. Also to note, this is Chris Candido's debut, and he will be on commentary throughout this match. So interesting to note that Candido's here, and they're going to tease that he's a part of the Cruiserweight division.
Is Sonny there or just Candido?
It's Candido at first. She'll eventually come in as well
Okay.
for a cup of coffee, but yeah, it's him. And it's interesting the way that they're saying what he's going to be. They're calling him the cruiserweight bully. He doesn't wrestle the cruiserweight style, but he's a smaller guy and he's the cruiserweight bully is kind of how they're referring to him.
Yeah. I know I was responsible for bringing those two back. That's why I was just asking about the timing of it.
Yeah, so I guess Sullivan probably would be bringing him back, and then she comes back after that. She comes back
Yeah,
more.
maybe then once he was there, I was the one who said we should probably bring her in. That's because she probably didn't come back till after I was there, I would think.
Right. Great, great worker, great talent. Candido.
Oh yeah,
love
no,
Candido.
great guy, bro. Chris Candido was a great guy. This was probably a decent match, no?
It was weird because the Paisley interference and the Juventud kind of trying to take too much limelight in the match. It doesn't really mesh as well
Right.
as you would think with those guys.
Okay, fair enough.
So Mean Gene with Bam Bam Bigelow backstage. He's talking about the Wall, Jerry Toot, who basically he's saying, he was kind of his mentor, the Monster Factor, all this other stuff. So interesting that that'll be a match later on in the evening. Then we have an odd team, but you probably love this team. So it's Norman Smiley and the Demon, known as the Screamin' Demons. So we have Norman Smiley dressed up like Gene Simmons, basically with the paint. And obviously he's with Dale Torberg, aka the Demon, and they're going to fight Lane and Rave, aka XS. So excess, Lane and Rave, Lenny Lane and Lodi are going to be Lane and Rave. The Screaming Demons defeat XS. The kind of in a not great match. It's kind of a short match too. It only goes 3 minutes 45 seconds, but the Screaming Demons get the win. Not great match. The only good part is Stacy Keebler. She's out and she's on commentary. So, AKA Miss Hancock. That's kind of the only good part of that
I
match.
would have loved though to see Screaming Norman as Gene Simmons. I would have loved to. I would have enjoyed seeing that. I never even knew that happened, bro.
That seems like a you gimmick. Like that's
No,
something
no,
that you
no.
would do. Like, hey, you want to
Yeah.
dress up like Kiss?
No,
Yeah.
I would love to see it. I would love to see that, but I never even knew that happened.
Miss Hancock also was not a fan of Mark Madden on commentary. I don't know if that was a work or a shoot, but she did not seem like she was a fan of Mark Madden or Lenny Lane and Lodi either. She didn't seem like she was a fan.
Interesting.
Teasing the gimmick with them. Basically, at one point, remember they're going to do that gimmick where they're what do you call those guys that control the script? Like you can't put that on the script. You
Censors
got to take that off.
stands and practices.
Yes, that was their name at one point. Yeah, and she was a part of that standards and practice. That's so funny. He's standards. He's practice. They're
Isn't that a
standards.
right? Is that a ripoff off of censored the right to censor, or were they before the who ripped off who?
So technically speaking, the standards and practices was first, and then but right to censor was a make fun of the PTC, the Parent Teacher Council, that was coming after WWF. Remember, they kept coming after them like, "Oh, you can't do this."
Yeah, bro, I
You
wasn't
can't do that.
watching.
They're doing the sucking.
I didn't see any of that, bro. I did not see any of that. I just know it because of Stevie, you know.
Yeah. So they did the PTC was after WWE, so they made the RTC, the right to censor, and they would just completely make fun of them. Like, oh yeah, you want to rip us? You want to say we're doing this? We can't do that. Kids in school and all, they should be watching wrestling. Okay, we'll just have a gimmick making fun of you guys, and we'll get a tremendous amount of heat for it.
Got you.
So then we have Booker T and Kidman backstage. Then we show David Flair, Crowbar, and Daphne backstage for a promo, teasing separate matches. They're not against each other, but just separate matches later on in the night. So not a great start. not really two great matches here to kind of kick off the show here. Nothing great, but you do like the Screaming Demons at least. At
Yeah,
least you
yeah,
like
I
that
do.
tag
I
team.
do. I do. I would have, I would love to see that because it's got the potential to be entertaining as hell. I don't have
Yeah.
a problem with that at all.
Then we
Bro,
have
I
Bam.
like, I swear to God, bro, because people build up all kinds of stupid shit. I was a fan of Kevin Sullivan, man. I was always a fan of Kevin Sullivan. Bro, Kevin Sullivan, man, he came on my show
Yeah.
after WCW and we had a great conversation. I was always a huge fan of Kevin Sullivan. Like I said, bro, he was one of the guys politicking to get me out, and I knew it and I saw it. But you got to understand, with somebody like me, John, like, I know that's part of wrestling. Like, so it's not like I'm not really taking that personal against Kevin, because when you're an old timer in the business, that's part of the business. So, like, I was always a fan of Kevin Sullivan. So it's not like, you're going to lay out this card to me and I'm going to rip shit because it's Kevin Sullivan. I would have loved to seen that team.
The interesting thing with Sullivan is like, and just booking in general, really, if you really just take any booker, it's like they could be really good here. 96, he was on fire. Everything he did was amazing. Even go back to 95. I even like some of the stuff he did in 95 with Nitro starting up. They did a really good job. But then it's like, wow, 4 or 5 years later, we're trying to kind of recycle some of the same stuff or do some, and it's just not working. So sometimes it's timing a lot on booking and writing.
I agree with that 1,000%. I agree with that. And the system. What system is in place. That's why people, like, I laugh at people now about them saying, oh, I wish I can go back to the WWE. Bro, I would never work in that system. I would never be stupid enough to think that I could work in that system. I was successful, man, because I was in a system I could work in. I left TNA, bro, because it was no longer a system I could work in. So the system is very, very, very important.
When you're looking at like the way booking is or the way like the writing room is set up by committee, it just in general, that doesn't necessarily really work that well, does it? I mean,
John, it doesn't work because it's a nonstop runaway train, which means, you're writing, back then 2 shows a week and a pay-per-view. Bro, you don't have time for a committee. You don't have time to listen to everybody's pitches and ideas. There's not enough time in the week. That's why it doesn't work. Because what happens, John, is you wind up running out of time and then you're just filling out segments. That's what happens. It's not inducive for a committee. There's not enough time.
it was interesting. I was just watching a clip with Undertaker. I think he was talking to DDP, maybe. Maybe I'm getting the clips confused, but he was talking about WCW, and he was saying that Hall was asking him to jump over. Hey, or Nash was asking him, hey, you want to jump over? I can get you this amount of money. Like, oh my God, it's a ton of money. He goes, but there's too many Chiefs, not enough Indians. He was
Yeah,
just basically
man.
saying like there's too many guys that had too much political power over there. He's like, I don't think I'd work in that system. Like
Yeah,
it's just too much of like there. And he's like, the Vince being in charge is kind of like the one boss structure kind of thing. He's like, I can't work in that type of system.
absolutely. Bro, it's like when an NFL team hires a head coach. What do? That head coach brings in his team. All the
Yeah.
coaches get fired, bro. He brings in his team. The system is very, very, very important, bro. And that's why, like, there is no way in hell it would be a waste of everybody's time and money. I would never work in a system like that.
So the next match, Bam Bam Bigelow defeats the Wall by disqualification in 3 minutes 20 seconds. Not really a great match here. It's kind of just done in a little clunky, a little weird. But then Crowbar actually comes out afterwards, and the Wall destroys Crowbar, brings him up the entranceway, if you will, all the way up the like. Well, I guess you could say up the ladder, if you will, but he brings him like on a second perch at the entrance level, and then throws Crowbar through the stage. So Crowbar's injured. He chokeslams Bigelow, throws him through a table. So he's injured. The ambulance comes and they grab Crowbar in the back. So they're kind of very fearful that the Wall has, he destroys Bigelow, but he also just absolutely destroys Crowbar, who they were kind of feuding with a little bit on Nitro and leading up, and they were kind of teasing that feud a little bit. So Crowbar's completely taken out of the game. He takes a crazy bump too, and goes through the entrance way.
Yeah.
Really trying to build up a Wall is like a big heel.
Yeah, I'm just surprised with those two guys. The match was so short. It seems to
Yeah.
me like those two guys would have been able to have a good match.
So basically, Wall is kind of like the big heel or like the big villain here, just destroying people, destroyed Bigelow, destroyed Crowbar, but they're going to have more of that. We're going to kind of tease with the ambulance showing up. We'll have more info on that. Do you like an injury gimmick like that? Like you're kind of teasing that it's very serious. They announce it's very serious. Something happened.
Yeah, well, you're talking now, John. You're talking what, bro? Like 25 years ago. I mean, today, bro, the way the business is today, God, bro, it's so hard to make anybody believe anything because they've just exposed it so much today, where back then you had a much, much, much better chance of people buying into it. Today, man, I just don't think I don't think today, bro, people like freaking believe anything, man. It's everything is out there. Nothing's kayfabe anymore. Nothing's a secret anymore. Nothing's sold anymore. It hit me the other day, bro, when, John, I did not watch Elimination Chamber, but when I went to bed that night, on my YouTube stream, they had like highlights and stuff. So I saw the Rock press conference. And I'm watching The Rock talk about the final boss as being a character. He's making it perfectly clear the final boss is a character. He can be this, he could be that. It all depends upon the story. And then, bro, on Monday night, I'm watching them play the replay, and I'm watching Michael Cole do the old, in 20 years that I've been with this company, never did I think. And I'm sitting there, I'm saying, Michael, did you not see what The Rock said in the press conference? The Rock made it clear in the press conference that these are actors in a play and they're playing a part. So now you look like an absolute moron trying to sell this like it was real when you have one of the guys who was involved in it making it clear he's an actor and he's playing a part. And that's what I mean, bro. So today, absolutely not. With the crazy shit they do in every single match, why are you going to have to stretch or somebody out? Back then, I would have believed it.
So he's going to be stretchered out. They have a Brian Knobbs promo, pumping up his match, and they have a 3-count promo as well, leading up to the Brian Knobbs versus 3-count in a 3-on-1 handicap match, hardcore gauntlet for the WCW Hardcore Championship. So
I like
Knobsy
that.
versus
That's creative. Having the 3-count as hardcore champions. I like that. That sounds creative.
hopefully Knobsy is going to be okay. I saw he was in the hospital. He's got a GoFundMe. He's got a fundraiser that Buff Bagwell's putting on. He's
Oh,
not doing too good. He might have to have
I
his
did
foot
not know
amputated.
that.
Yeah,
What diabetes?
I think so. I think that was what
Oh
was
wow,
going on with Knobsy.
I didn't know that, bro. Yeah, he's one of the good guys, bro. He's really a good guy, man. Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, there's a GoFundMe for Knobsy, and there's a fundraiser. I think Sting, Luger, Booker T, and Buff Bagwell were putting on this fundraiser for Knobs. So
Oh,
they're
that's
very, very
awesome,
serious.
man.
Yeah, but awesome
Yeah,
other guys
well, that's not awesome, but the fact that they're all pitching
that
in
they're
is awesome.
coming together. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So Knobs will end up defeating 3-count Evan Courageous, Shannon Moore, and Shane Helms to win the WCW Hardcore Championship. The match was okay. Went about 7 minutes. There was definitely some entertaining spots. He basically eliminates them one by one and ends up winning the Hardcore Championship from the 3-count, who was actually the Hardcore champions going in. So interesting. Like you said,
Yeah,
you
I
liked it, but
would
it's
have
interesting
made
that they did that.
I would have made Jimmy Hart a part of that. And I would have had it come down to Jimmy Hart as the last guy and somehow, some way have the banana peel and have Jimmy Hart go over. That's what I would have done. But entertaining.
Yeah, you would have had Jimmy Hart be the Hardcore champion.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All
Well,
right.
technically 3-count, but Jimmy Hart could have been a part of that.
Right. I got you.
See
Interesting.
that in itself, bro, like that in itself, if Jimmy Hart is like the fourth guy and he winds up slipping in a banana peel, then 3 count, assume that they're hardcore champions. They don't, and then Jimmy believes he's a part of that. See, something like that could have been very, very, very entertaining.
Look at you getting creative here.
But I do like that. I mean, I like some of the creative stuff Sullivan's doing here, bro.
Then we have the New Harlem Heat, Big T, Stevie Ray, Cash, and Jay Biggs, aka Clarence Mason. They're in the back. They have a promo with Mean Gene, and then we have a promo backstage with Vampiro as well, leading up to the Harlem Heat versus Booker T and Kidman match, which is going to be next year. So Kidman and Booker T are teaming up, and they're going to defeat Big T and Stevie Ray of the New Harlem Heat. They're going to beat them in just about 7 minutes. Just kind of a okay tag match here.
Was there a reason? Was there a story why Kidman was the partner?
So it's interesting. They're just kind of been building up through like the weeks of Nitro, just like Kidman kind of helping Booker T, or he's kind of being there. It's not like 100% great, but they tried to kind of tie it in for the weeks leading into it, like why he would be the partner.
Yeah,
but it wasn't like necessarily like the greatest option or like the greatest booking of it.
I saw this headline just a couple days ago, and of course it was Bischoff. Vince Russo killed Billy Kidman's career. I first of all, the last I checked, Billy Kidman still has a career in professional wrestling.
Yeah.
So
WWE,
I would love to know exactly what I did to kill the career of Billy Kidman. I'd love to know what that would be.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to listen to that. I didn't hear that. I did hear something interesting though that he did say, Bischoff, by the way. Listen to this. Somebody asked him if you should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Guess what his answer was?
Yeah, his answer was, yeah, I should, but he wouldn't induct me for $1 million. And why would, if that ever would have happened, and it never will in a million years. So let's just get that out of the way. Why on God's green earth would Eric Bischoff be the one to induct me anyway? He wouldn't be the last one. The last one would obviously be Cornette. But the one before Cornette would be Bischoff. So I don't like
the same person asked him if you should go in, would he induct you? So it was like the person kind of knew the answer, I think, on that one.
Bro, that's wait till my book comes out, bro. You think Bischoff don't like me now? Wait.
I was surprised he said yes to you in the Hall of Fame, though. I'm surprised he didn't say no.
Or can I tell you why he did that? I'll tell you why he did that. Because, bro, when he got put in the Hall of Fame, bro, who do you think was the first one to put him over?
Not you.
Me.
Really?
Me. And as a matter of fact, Conrad read my comments to Eric on his show. I was the first. And bro, because I knew that meant a lot to Eric. I knew it meant a lot to him, so I put him over. So obviously, if somebody asks him that question and he buries me, obviously he's going to look like a dick after I put him over for getting put in the Hall of Fame.
Come on, he deserves it. WCW, WWF's ass. He deserves it.
No, absolutely.
Only guy ever to beat Vince McMahon. Come on.
I agree 1,000%, and I don't care how he did it. I don't care about the turn of checkbook. I don't care about any of that. 1,000%, bro.
So then we have a hype video for Vampiro versus Fit Finlay. Oddly enough, it's going to be a Falls Count Anywhere match. Vampiro ends up beating Finlay in 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Very weird. It's just a wild brawl. They're all over the place. And when they fight into the crowd, it actually goes like into the concession stand area. The camera guy is literally like pushing people because he's trying to get the shot, and the fans are going in front. Like it
probably look good though. It probably look good. You know what I mean? I would just love to know like what was the angle, like how they got into this match. That I would have loved to know the dynamic of these two. You know.
So they're building it up. The hype video kind of tells you they were building it up for weeks. Like Finlay attacked him, Finlay injured him. Like they were going back and forth like for weeks and it kind of became a bit personal. So Vampiro's like, "Oh, you think you're tough? You think you're a tough guy, Finley? Let's do false count anywhere. We're about to get. I'll show you how tough I am." So
Yeah.
it escalated in Nitro and Thunder and stuff. So it did escalate and build up to it. But
Yeah.
it's just so funny, like that, like the place that they go to film it, the crowd knows they're there. Like they all rush the scene, and the lighting stinks because it's just where they are and like kind of like where they're forced into. And then
Yeah.
when they make the cover, even the ref has to like
Get
move out of the way.
everybody
You
out
got
of
to
the
make
way.
the yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it wasn't like I don't know if WWF did it, and I've been at shows where this happened, where you're just there, and all of a sudden there's security guys. You're like, okay, something's going to happen here. Like they're kind of being discreet, but they're hiding people out of the way so the camera guy can get there and get the footage.
Yeah.
Doug Dillinger was too late, or whoever the security people are too late to get these people out of there, so you can actually see what the
Yeah.
hell is going on.
See, I gotta be honest with you, bro. Like again, John, one of my biggest beefs with the WWE today is I just think there's a lot of laziness, man. Just booking these long matches. I just think it's laziness. Bro, from what you're telling me about this show, Kevin Sullivan ain't being lazy. I mean, Kevin is booking a very, very eventful show here, and it sounds like there's a lot going on. That's always the first thing I look for, bro, because booking is subjective. So some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it, no matter who writes it. So I don't look at that. I always look at the effort, man. What is the effort you put into this show? And it sounds like Kevin's putting a lot of creative effort into this show.
Big time, big time. Some of the matches though, they are kind of duds or really, and they're not like coming off as great. This match was actually pretty good. Actually, this was definitely the best match of the night so far.
Yeah,
Vampiro
but
beating Fit Finlay.
is that on Kevin or is that on the performers, man?
Well, that's true. It's on the wrestlers. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would say the bigger percentage is on the wrestlers. You got to be
yeah,
able to put out the performance
yeah,
because you've seen bad creative and the wrestlers have an awesome match. And it's like, oh
yeah.
wow,
Making chicken salad out of chicken shit. Absolutely.
yep.
Yep.
So Vamp gets the win there. Then Mean Gene is backstage with the Mamalukes and your boy Disco Inferno, which talking about the Harris Boys and the tag team title match coming up. So next up, we have the Harris Boys, Ron and Don, defeating the Mamalukes, Big Vito and Johnny the Bull
That,
with Disco
that
Inferno.
that was probably a stiff match, I would think. No.
It was weird. Like at points, yes, but it seemed a little clunky. The chemistry wasn't quite there. It was interesting because Vito and Johnny were kind of like I wouldn't say like MVPs, but they were really kind of like the shining stars for the few months that were actually like putting on great performances. You could see like
Yeah.
their effort, but I don't think the chemistry in this one was just a little off. I don't know. I wasn't quite
What
feeling. I
what
don't know if that
what
was on the
what what
Harris boys or not.
the Harris boys, like what was their gimmick? They were just the Harris boys.
And they're technically in the NWO with Jeff Jarrett, even though their feud like Nash isn't really there right now. So it was weird. They're with Jarrett. They're technically NWO, but it's not really NWO. It's basically they're just Jarrett's like cronies, if you will, or
Henchman.
like
Yeah.
they're his muscle henchmen. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
So the Harris boys beat the Mamalukes to win the WCW Tag Team Championships. The match goes 8 minutes and 45 seconds. A little clunky. Disco tries to interfere, unsuccessful. It just, I don't know, for whatever reason, it just didn't work out well.
Yeah, it just seems like there's a pattern of these, matches not being too good. And that's not,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
that's to me, that's not on Kevin, man. That's the
No.
agents and the talent.
Yep. Guess what? They're showing the black limo again. Who the hell's in this black limo? There you go. Another tease, like you like the thread. Then we have a Fit Finlay promo putting over Vampiro. So it seems like there's definitely an effort to mention Vampiro. Hey, you're tough as hell. You beat me at my own game, kind of thing. So definitely getting Vamp over to the next level, or trying to anyway. Finley's pumping him up in defeat. Then we go to Mean Gene. He's got Lex Luger and Ric Flair talking about how their team package. Luger's been injuring guys. Flair wants Hogan. So they're really pumping up Flair and Luger as these big heels. And obviously talking about Luger's match with Sting later on and Flair's match with Hogan later on in the evening. Then we have a nice little hype video for Dustin Rhodes versus Terry Funk, and Dustin Rhodes has a promo with Mean Gene talking about Terry Funk and the history of the Rhodes and the Funks.
Bro, how many matches?
11.
Wow. That's what I'm
Too many.
saying. It's a lot of matches.
WWE has
But
4.
I've
They
done
have
that. I mean,
11.
I've
Yeah.
done that.
Yeah. Oh, of
I've
course.
done
Yeah.
that. I was just asking because it just sounds like there's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of matches for sure.
Yeah.
WWE only had 4 on their last pay per view, but that's
I hate that,
right.
bro.
Yes.
I hate that so much. Uh, the
Well,
whole
the 2
I
elimination
I don't
chambers are really long.
I listen, bro. You got to understand. I know they're making a shitload of money, but let's be clear, bro. The shitload of money is coming from the television contracts. The shitload of money is coming from they cut down on the house shows. So now when they have a house show, there's more of a sense of urgency. There's a lot of reasons why they're making a lot of money, but I do not like that 4-match pay-per-view model, bro. I don't like it at all.
Madison Square Garden Monday night, 20,000 people sell it for the sellout. Which is smart, and for some reason Vince used to not do this, and I hated it. I love that they do this now. They took away the entranceway, so it's like old school where the entrance is very very small because you
Yeah.
want to fit more people so you can
Right,
sell
of
more
course. Yeah,
tickets. Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know why
What
Vince would sacrifice some of
what
that
did
stuff.
you pay for tickets?
175 a piece.
And where were they?
Section 220, row 4. So
So the
like
second,
mid
yeah.
level. Yeah, that's mid level. Yeah. But MSG, the way it is now, the way they set it up, there's really no bad seats. Like even if you were higher up, you'd be able to see pretty good.
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, my son is a huge mark. He was loving it. He
Yeah.
absolutely
How
loved it.
old is he? How old is he?
9, 9.
That's awesome. Good for you. I would never pay that kind of money for anything. I'm not
I know.
not
I
wrestling,
warned him too.
anything.
I go, John. I go, listen. I go, this is an expensive show here. I was like, this is not
Yeah.
cheap, man. I mean, it's like I was like 175 for a Raw. I go, this is like a pay per view years ago. God, I
Yeah.
mean, for WrestleMania 15, I paid 400 to sit in the first row, and that
Yeah.
was, now you're paying 20 grand or whatever it is. I mean, it's crazy the prices
Yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah. I agree. I agree.
Even the merch, crazy. He wants all the
Yeah.
Jey Uso, all the Yeet stuff. Even the merch is crazy.
Yeah.
And these fans don't care. There was a
Well,
line for the merch to get to the merch stand, so they put you in 2 different lines. Like you had to
yeah.
wait twice.
So, bro, let me what is a t-shirt these days? 50?
40.
40. Wow,
Yeah.
bro.
Still though, I
Wow.
think that's nuts because I used to pay 20. Remember, I used to get an
Yeah.
Austin 316 for $20.
Yeah. Wow. 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 Okay. Go ahead.
Those
They're
were the
making money,
days.
bro. So
I know.
people are buying
I
them.
know.
Yeah.
His sunglasses. We didn't buy him because he already has Yeet sunglasses, but the sunglasses were $30. But they're like flimsy, cheap,
Oh, of
like
course
fake.
they are.
So I
Of
was like
course.
$30. Like, oh
Yeah.
my god, they're
Yeah.
they're crazy. But
Yeah.
you go at the end of the night and it looks like it's been ransacked. Like
Yeah.
everything was sold. So it's like,
Yeah.
holy crap.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Um, but moving on, we have a Dustin Rhodes defeating Terry Funk in a bull rope match in 9 minutes. I don't know, but he beats it via pinfall. I don't know what it was. It just I've seen better, obviously, from both these. I know Funk's older; it's year 2000 at this point, but I've seen better from both. For some reason, wasn't clicking here. And Dustin, God, I mean, I saw him have a good match a month ago, and at
Yeah.
56 years old, so he's awesome. But for some
Yeah.
reason, this match just wasn't that great, and
Wow,
he gets the
crazy.
win in the bull rope
This,
match.
yeah, ongoing thing. I mean, there's a lot of gimmick stuff, which I'm not opposed to, but it seems like a lot of these matches were lackluster for whatever reason.
And it could be the crowd too. The crowd wasn't that great. I know Miami sometimes is hit or miss with being a good
Yeah,
crowd, but just was not a great crowd. And it's only 5,000 in attendance with WWE pay-per-views. I mean, God, we were talking a few weeks ago, WWE, there was like 20,000 people there for one of the
yeah,
pay-per-views. So, I mean,
yeah,
it's definitely not going well for
yeah.
WCW. Maybe the performers feel that. Maybe they know it's not really going well.
It might be. Yep.
So then we have a Sid Vicious promo with Mean Gene talking about his match against Jeff Jarrett later on for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Then we have a Sting and Lex Luger video hype package. Seems like these two have wrestled so many damn times.
I know. That's
It's
what I
almost
was.
like ridiculous at this point.
I swear to God, that's what I'm thinking of, John. When you're telling me this, I'm like, what's the hook here? Is there some kind of a hook or some kind of an angle? What's going on?
When I'm saying this to you, right, and let's say, I know you weren't really following, but like, let's just say somebody says to you, "Hey, Hogan, Flair, Sting, Luger, they wrestled 1,000 times. They wrestled 1,000 times." When you come back in April, it seems like you guys are like really dead set on like, okay, Flair's fighting Shane Douglas, Hogan's fighting Kidman, Hogan's fighting Mike Awesome. It seems like you want them to be fighting anybody but each other. Like you want them aligned with each other and fighting anybody like maybe younger.
Yeah, younger and just new looks, man. Just new looks instead of repeating the same thing over and over and over and over again. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's one of the things where it worked in the past, right? But the well dries up as creative. Like you have to do something different.
You have to, bro. And that I think that's the problem the WWE is having now, bro, is they're not getting these younger people over. They're just not getting them over. And bro, what are you gonna do when you can't go to the Cena, the Rockwell, anymore, man? I don't know what mid Carters are ready to step up into that role. You know what I mean? I think that's going to be a problem for them.
So next up, we have the WCW World Heavyweight Championship match. Before the match starts, Jeff Jarrett has an in-ring promo pumping up. Basically he's going to be the WCW champion. His boys, the Harris boys, won the tag titles. He might have a little surprise, so he's pumping up that he's going to win the WCW title. So the next matchup, Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss? Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped ahead there. Sting first
Sting
beats
and Luger.
Lex
Sting and Luger.
Luger. Yep. Sorry, I jumped ahead there. Sting beats
Just a straight up match, John. Straight up.
no, no. Here's the thing: it's a lumberjack match, and
Wow.
Luger was beating up all these guys and putting them in the cast. Remember, I was saying that the last time everybody's in the cast.
Yeah.
All the guys that had the cast are the
A lumberjack.
lumberjacks, so they're all
Okay.
pissed at Luger.
Yeah.
So Sting ends up defeating Luger in the lumberjack cast match in 7 minutes. Miss Elizabeth's cheating kind of went for naught, and Sting ends up getting the win. Interesting kind of thing with basically everybody
Yeah,
having a
bro,
cast on a lumberjack match. Yeah.
I'm a gimmick guy. I'm not gonna criticize any of these gimmicks.
Do you think that's overdone though? I don't know. It's almost like a double gimmick match. They got the cast on. There's lumberjacks. Do you think it's too much or no?
No, I mean, I think the story makes sense. I kind of like it.
Seems like a Russo or even like a Bill Watts. Remember Watts used to do that? He would like overbook. It would be like a tuxedo, cage,
Yeah,
first blood match or whatever. It'd be like 10
yeah,
things in one. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, but Sting ends up getting the win and not really, getting rid of Luger because they're going to kind of continue on. But it's just seems like it should move on. Like
yeah.
let's move on from Sting and Luger. Then we have Tank Abbott backstage promo. Then we have a Sid and a Jeff Jarrett hype video package, and then we have the Jarrett in-ring promo
I
before the
have to
title.
hope this is a good match.
It's weird. It's okay.
Wow,
It's
really,
not like
man?
great. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
wow.
to be honest, it's way too short. I don't know why either. So Sid ends up retaining the WCW World Heavyweight title. He beats Jarrett in 7 minutes and 30 seconds. That's not a little too short for a title match on a pay
That
per view.
is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. How'd he beat him clean?
So here's the thing. It starts getting a little crazy. So Slick Johnson is doing the heel referee gimmick. He comes in, tries to help, but he gets thwarted by Hulk Hogan, who comes out and helps Sid. Remember I was saying earlier on they were talking in the back? Basically, Hogan was saying, I got your back, and you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So they teased it earlier on in the show, but it's just interesting. Hogan comes out here and helps out. Then the guy in the black limo comes out. He's revealed as Scott Steiner,
I was
who hadn't been
thinking
there in
Scott.
months.
I was thinking of Scott for some reason. Okay.
And he's basically Jeff Jarrett's insurance policy. That's what Jarrett was referring to in his promo. Hey, I got an insurance policy, Jeff Jarrett.
Did he get a
Here's the
good
only thing with that.
did he get a good pop?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay.
People were
Okay.
surprised, and then they booed
Okay.
him out of the building because, of course, he then beat
He
up
helped.
Hulk Hogan and he beat the hell out of Hogan. But the
Yeah.
thing is, if he's the insurance policy, shouldn't he have helped him win the title? He got there a little late. He couldn't help
Yeah.
win the title.
Yeah.
Slick Johnson couldn't help him win the title, so
Yeah.
Sid wins anyway. Despite that, Steiner
Yeah.
ended up looking good, but Jarrett almost ends up looking like a goof. It's like, wait,
Yeah.
couldn't you have got him to come out early and help you win the title?
Yeah. That's silly. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how would you have booked that? You would have done something
No, the insurance
different.
policy would be to the last resort, save Jeff's ass. I mean, that's an insurance policy. You don't cash in the insurance policy after all the damage is done.
But he
Yeah.
lost. He should have won, right? Right? If you
Yeah,
got
that's
the
what I'm
insurance
saying.
policy. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
ace in the hole there. You got, the guy
Yeah.
in your back pocket.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting.
So it seems like that black limo, it does pay off because it's Steiner. It's cool. He hadn't been there in a while, and he beats the hell out of Hogan, and Sid really beats the hell out of Hogan.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
it's weird that those two never worked. And now I'm seeing interviews with Scott Steiner, and I'm kind of seeing maybe why. They didn't get
Yeah.
along, huh? Steiner and
No,
Hogan.
Scott never liked Hulk. Never liked him. Yeah.
Do you know why? Like, what was the? I know Scott in his interview was saying reasons, but do you ever see anything?
I think it's everything Scott said in his freaking interview. You know, I mean, I think he really did look at Hogan as a politician and one of those guys that he felt were keeping him down. Whether it was true or not, I think Scott really felt that way.
But it's weird that they didn't work. Like that should have been like a big match, and like Steiner like being anointed. He beats Hogan, he
Yeah,
becomes even
I
bigger.
agree. I agree. Absolutely. Yep.
Could be part of Scott's animosity towards him that they didn't get that match. He didn't get that win over Hulkster.
Yeah. Yeah. Scott said a lot more in that interview than I thought he would say. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's funny that he's doing all these interviews and stuff now. He seems like he's very like mellow, very
Yeah.
calm now.
Yeah. He was always that way though, bro. I swear to God, I never ever had one single issue with Scott, never got hot. Like I mean, I loved working with the guy.
There's a funny thing where he just rips guys like on national TV, like where he just rips Flair out of nowhere, even
Yeah.
though he's not feuding
Yeah.
with like he just goes off. And I was talking obviously a while back with Sullivan, and I go, "What the hell was that? Like, what happened?" He goes, "That's what I said. I went up to Scott." He goes, "Nobody else would go up to him. I went up to him back." He goes, "What the hell was that? Like, what are you doing?" You know what I mean? He goes, "Because people were afraid of him, like to say
Yeah.
anything to him."
Yeah. Yeah.
Kevin's like, "Not that I'm going to fight him," because, "But I'm like the booker. I got to say, like, what the hell are you doing? That wasn't a part of the plan."
Yeah. 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 Entertaining guy though, man.
Yeah, he's awesome. I interviewed Scott last year. He was actually like, I was surprised. I was like a little nervous, like, oh man, he's probably gonna be like, that's a shit question. Like next, I've seen shoot interviews
Nah.
with him
Yeah.
where he's interviewed and the guy's like, oh, it's a shit. But no, he was awesome. He was so
That's
cool.
awesome. Cool.
It's okay. So the main event is Hogan and Flair in the Yapapai Indian strap match. Hogan's already out there because the match just happened, and so he's laid out. He's beat up. Flair, they don't do entrances. Flair just runs in and basically starts the match. Do you like that though? No entrance,
I
the
don't
match
mind
just
that.
starts.
I don't mind that.
I wonder if they were trying to maybe save some time and cut off the entrances. I wonder
Yeah, they may.
if
Yeah,
they were going long.
especially if you said the Sid and Jeff match was short. They were probably running way long on time. Yes.
Maybe don't do 11 matches on a pay per view. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you like the fact that Hogan's laid out and Flair comes in? He's picking up the pieces. Do you think that's like a cool, like I don't know,
Yeah,
way of basically putting
I
a
don't
body
mind.
insult?
I don't mind that but I still think it's counterproductive. I mean, if that match before was booked correctly, Scott could have been a huge surprise at the end of the night. This just seems like a melodramatic to me. After they just had the title match and Scott Steiner came out, I would have booked that differently.
So interesting. So you would like Scott his return to be last?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point because why the hell wouldn't that be like the last thing you see? Steiner returns and they dominate and the heat a tremendous amount of heel heat for Scott.
Because who's got seniority here? This is Flair and Hogan, man, and this is probably one of the reasons why Scott says what he says. I mean, that definitely should have been the last thing you saw.
So they're almost overshadowing Scotty's
Yes,
return.
yes, yep.
Would you have ever booked a Yapapai Indian strap match?
I would have booked it if the story made sense. I mean, I would need to know why it's a strap match. How was a strap involved in this thing? I mean, if they're just booking a strap match, it doesn't make any sense. But if it was part of the story building up to it and it made sense, I don't know how they booked it.
Man, there's a funny promo online with Hogan, like explaining the Yapapai Indian strap.
Yeah,
It doesn't make any sense. It's so
yeah.
weird. Yeah,
See, that's the thing, man. That's the
yeah.
difference. I talk all the time between booking and writing. Bookers put a match together first, then they try to make the sense out of a story. And a lot of times there is no story and it doesn't make sense. That's why you got to start with the story first and let it lead into a match.
They were feuding because obviously Luger and Hogan are feuding, and Flair is in a team package with Luger, so they are feuding. But like the explanation behind why it's the Yapapai Indian strap match was, I don't know, it was a little flawed. I guess, a little
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a little weird. Yeah.
And to hear Hogan kind of explaining the yappa pie and stuff, it's like, is that really like necessary? Can it just be like a
Yeah.
regular strap match? Like it's
Yeah.
just
That's
weird.
weird. Yeah. I might have to go back and look for some of that stuff.
It doesn't seem like this was like Flair's idea because you know what I mean. It seems like a Hogan idea, and Sullivan's
Yeah.
like, all right, maybe creative control, I guess. Whatever, you can't argue it, but like it just seems like a Hogan idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So what's the outcome?
Hogan defeats Flair in a very bloody Yapapai
Wow.
Indian strap
Wow.
match, 14 minutes, 30 seconds. Actually, which is crazy, might have been the second best match of the night because the crowd was into it and there was a lot of blood. I don't know, probably Vampiro Finlay might have been better, but this might have been the second best match of the night, shockingly. Hogan and Flair here. So not a bad
Interesting.
match, not terrible, but I think the blood helped. They're both,
Yeah.
pretty damn bloody. Here's the weird part though. So you supposedly have to touch all four corners. That's the strap match. You just touch the corners. And they pumped it up. You have to touch all four corners through the whole match. Touch all
In
four
in
corners.
in 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 a row, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. So here's the weird part. I just thought was just insane. So no pins in the match. Hogan pins Flair to win. He touches three corners, pins him 1, 2, 3, then hits the fourth corner, and then it's over. I was like, "What the hell? What was the pin for? Like, what? Why did you pin him?"
That's very, very, very weird. Unless he forgot the rules and had to go back
Maybe
and hit the fourth one. You know what I mean? That's very weird. Very weird.
to me, I could see Flair being like, because you're not going to kick out or whatever, right? I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
Hogan's supposed to win, but to me, it was almost like I'm going to beat Flair twice. I'm going to pin him,
Yeah.
and I'm going to touch the corner.
God, it sounds to me like Kevin may have known that, he was going to be gone, because this sounds like he's just really pulling out all the stops in this pay-per-view. I mean, there's a lot of bells, there's a lot of whistles, there's a lot of matches. That's
Ton of
what it kind
gimmick
of seems.
matches.
That's what it kind of seems like to me.
Ton of gimmick matches. Do
Yeah,
you like Hogan going over via pinfall and
that's
touching all
weird. Yeah,
four corners?
that's really, really, really weird. Really weird.
Man, and I ordered the pay per view back in the day and watched it. I didn't even remember that. I'm like, oh my god, why the hell did he pin him? The whole thing
Yeah,
is that you touch the corners.
that's weird. That's really weird. Yeah, interesting.
Like you said, unless Hogan forgot, but it just seemed like, wait, like what the hell what is going on
It
here? It's
sounds
odd.
like he totally forgot, and then the referee had to buzz him and say, "Bro, by the way, you gotta go,
yeah,
hit the last turnbuckle." You know, that's what it sounds like
yeah.
to me, you know? Yeah, interesting.
Crowd oddly into the finish though. They were into it. They liked
Yeah.
Hogan winning. And the pay-per-view ends with Mark Madden saying, WCW, this is an interesting comment. WCW is firmly in control by Hulk Hogan, and these fans love it. And then that's the end of the pay-per-view with Hogan on top.
But that wasn't Kevin's last show, was it?
No, no.
Okay.
Last
Okay.
pay-per-view.
Got you. Got you. Okay.
What do you think about that comment by Madden? That seems like almost a little bit of a shoot comment. If WCW is firmly controlled by Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, it does, especially coming from Mark Madden, especially coming from Mark Madden, it does sound like a shoe comment. Yeah.
Like almost like that's the way Hogan booked that finish, like kind of thing. Like that.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And yeah. Yeah. I mean, Mark probably wasn't a fan of seeing me go, and then, there's the relationship between Hogan and Sullivan, so that's
Yeah.
what he was probably saying. Yeah. That's
Overall,
why,
it
bro.
didn't.
You can't, I swear to God, John, you can't be friends with talent, man. You can't get close to talent, man. And they're not your friends, man. They're not your friends. I knew that like immediately. That's why I never ever got close with anybody. The closest person I ever got to was Double J. But the reason I used Jeff the way I did was because he was a workhorse and he never got hurt. And he could get baby faces over. He was great at his freaking job. I didn't book him the way I did because he was my friend. But you can't have friends in the business, bro, especially if you're a booker, man.
Well said. It seems
Yeah.
like you didn't really not like I didn't really like this pay per view at all. I don't know. It just felt like a throwback. I don't know. They were just trying too many different things. The matches weren't that great. The crowd wasn't that great. But it seems like you weren't really that against it. You liked the effort.
I do. No, definitely. I'm all about effort, bro. Because, like I said, creative is subjective, man. It is subjective. I always look at what kind of an effort did you put in, and man, it sounds like Sullivan especially put in a great effort here.
All right, let's wrap this bad boy up. Head towards the plugs. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Two Man Power Trip. Vince, what about you?
Yeah, guys, if you've never been a Patreon member, it's right there on the screen. Go to patreon.com/Russo TWC. Get a free week of Russo's brand. It will cost you absolutely nothing. Patreon.com/Russo TWC.
All right, so that's a wrap on WCW Uncensored 2000. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening. We'll see you right back here next time for the next podcast. Have a good one, folks.